We got chapter 12, Hera and her children. What we got here? Whoa! A little peacock over there. Hera, daughter of Cronus and Rhea, having been born on the island of Samos, or some say at Argos, was brought up in Arcadia by Temenus, son of Pelasgus. The Seasons were her nurses. After banishing their father Cronus, Hera's twin brother Zeus sought her out at Knossos in Crete, or some say at Mount Thornax, now called Cuckoo Mountain, in Argolis, where he courted her at first unsuccessfully. She took pity on him only when he adopted the disguise of a bedraggled cuckoo and tenderly warmed him in her bosom. There he at once resumed his true shape and ravished her so that she was shamed into marrying him. B. All the gods brought gifts to the wedding. Notably, Mother Earth gave Hera a tree with golden apples, which was later guarded by the Hesperides in Hera's orchard on Mount Atlas. She and Zeus spent their wedding night on Samos, and it lasted 300 years. Hera bathes regularly in the spring of Canathus near Argos and thus renews her virginity. C. To Hera and Zeus were born the deities Ares, Hephaestus, and Hebe, though some say that Ares and his twin sister Eris were conceived when Hera touched a certain flower, and Hebe when she touched a lettuce, and that Hephaestus also was her parthenogeneous child, a wonder which he would not believe until he had imprisoned her in a mechanical chair with arms that folded about the sitter, thus forcing her to swear by the river Styx that she did not lie. Others say that Hephaestus was her son by Talos, the nephew of Daedalus. Footers. 1. Hera's name, usually taken to be a Greek word for lady, may represent the original Herwa, protectress. She is the pre-Hellenic great goddess. Samos and Argos were the chief seats of her worship in Greece, but the Arcadians claimed that their cult was the earliest and made it contemporary with their earth-born ancestor Pelasgus Ancient. Hera's forced marriage to Zeus commemorates conquest of Crete and Mycenaean, that is to say, Cretanized Greece, and the overthrow of her supremacy in both countries. He probably came to her disguised as a bedraggled cuckoo, in the sense that certain Hellenes who came to Crete as fugitives accepted employment in the royal guard, made a palace conspiracy, and seized the kingdom. Knossos was twice sacked, apparently by Hellenes, about 1700 BC and about 1400 BC, and Mycenae fell to the Achaeans a century later. The god Indra in the Ramayana had similarly wooed a nymph in cuckoo disguise, and Zeus now borrowed Hera's scepter, which was surmounted with the cuckoo. Gold leaf figurines of a naked Argive goddess holding cuckoos have been found at Mycenae, and cuckoos perch on a gold leaf model temple from the same site. In the well-known Cretan sarcophagus from Hygeia Trida, a cuckoo perches on a double axe. 2. Hebe, the goddess, as child, was made cupbearer to the gods in the Olympian cult. She eventually married Heracles after Ganymedes had surpassed her office. Hephaestus seems to have been a title of the sacred king as solar demigod. Ares, a title of his war chief, or Tanist, whose emblem was the wild boar. Both became divine names when the Olympian cult was established, and they were chosen to fill the roles, respectively, of war god and smith god. The certain flower is likely to have been the May blossom. Ovid makes the goddess Flora, with whose worship the May blossom was associated, pointed out to Hera. Point it out to Hera. The May, or with whitethorn, is connected with miraculous conception in popular European myth. In Celtic literature, its sister is the blackthorn, a symbol of strife. Ares' twin, Eris. 3. Talos, the smith, was a Cretan hero born to Daedalus' sister, Perdix, partridge, with whom the mythographer is identifying Hera. Partridges, sacred to the Greek goddess, figure in the spring equinox orgies of the eastern Mediterranean when a hobbling dance was performed in imitation of partridges. Then, the hens were said by Aristotle, Pliny, and Aline to conceive merely by hearing the cock's voice. Hobbling, Hierophantus and Talos seem to be the same parthenogeneous character, and both were cast down from a height by angry rivals, originally in honor of their goddess mother. 4. In Argos, Hera's famous statue was seated on a throne of gold and ivory. The story of her imprisonment in a chair may have arisen from the Greek custom of chaining divine statues to their thrones to prevent escape. By losing an ancient statue of its god or goddess, a city might forfeit divine protection, and the Romans, therefore, made a practice of what was politely called enticing gods to Rome, which by imperial times had become a jackdaw's nest of stolen images. The seasons were her nurses is one way of saying that Hera was a goddess of the calendar year, hence the spring cuckoo on her scepter and the ripe pomegranate of late autumn, which she carried in her left hand to symbolize the death of the year. 5. A hero, as the world indicates, was a sacred king who had been sacrificed to Hera, whose body was safely under the earth and whose soul had gone to enjoy her paradise at the back of the north wind. His golden apples, in Greek and Celtic myth, were passports to this paradise. 6. The annual bath with which Hera renewed her virginity was also taken by Aphrodite at Paphos. It seems to have been the purification ceremony prescribed to a moon priestess after the murder of her lover, the sacred king. Hera, being the goddess of the vegetative year, spring, summer, and autumn, also symbolized by the new, full, and old moon, was worshipped at Stymphalos as child, bride, and widow. 7. The wedding night on Samos lasted for 300 years, perhaps became the Samian sacred year, like the Etruscan one, consisted of 10 30-day months only, with January and February omitted. Macrobius 1:13. Each day was lengthened to a year, but the mythographer may here be hinting that it took the Hellenes 300 years before they forced monogamy on Hera's people.